An outer god awakened and trapped everyone inside the mausoleum. As hope faded, Theo revealed that the completed Manhwa sword manual could destroy its core. While everyone risked their lives to buy Cassandra time, she began restoring the lost sword technique. Meanwhile, Eod realized her mistakes and finally joined the fight. Eod charged at the demon and began fighting without hesitation. She launched relentless attacks while the demon struck back with equal ferocity. As the fierce battle continued, the story shifted to Eod's childhood. A young Eod eagerly asked her grandfather to tell her the legendary story once again. Her grandfather smiled, amused by how much she loved hearing it. He began recounting the ancient tale of 300 Ragnar warriors who gathered long ago to protect the world. Led by a great hero, they bravely fought against a gigantic monster and eventually saved the land. Young Eod listened with excitement, completely captivated by the story. Eod then revealed that the hero in the legend was her own ancestor. Although the world was saved, the hero's name was eventually forgotten. The legendary sword manual used to defeat the monster was also lost over time. Eod and her grandfather devoted their entire lives to fulfilling their ancestor's will. Restoring the lost sword manual became her family's destiny and the purpose of her life. However, after years of research and relentless training, Eod realized a painful truth. Her talent was simply not enough to restore the legendary sword manual. It was then that her master approached her for the very first time, after witnessing her swordsmanship. Her master was deeply saddened by her situation, and by the fact that even during the war, no one had come to mourn a person who had dedicated an entire lifetime to Ragnar. From that moment onward, Eod's life began to change as her master reached out to her. Eod precisely sliced off one of the demon's body parts with a perfectly timed strike. Lage watched in shock and realized that the wounds inflicted by Eod were regenerating far more slowly than the others. At that moment, the bishop-priest noticed her sword and recognized its resemblance to the weapon once wielded by the human who had protected that land centuries ago. Eod was left stunned by the revelation. The bishop-priest immediately ordered the demon to attack her once again, while mocking her with contempt. Countless demonic hands rushed toward Eod from every direction. She skillfully dodged every attack and calmly repositioned herself. Without wasting a moment, Eod charged forward and cleanly severed another one of the demon's hands. Overwhelmed with emotion, she broke into tears of relief after realizing that all of her years of effort had not been in vain. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to Theo and Cassandra as they drew a mana circle and sat inside it. Both of them began circulating their mana to activate the ritual. At that moment, a system window appeared, announcing that an outsider was connecting through the brain gate. The system then confirmed that the brain gate was being forcibly opened. Moments later, the connection was successfully established with Cassandra Ida's timeline. As the connection was established, Theo began witnessing every memory stored within Cassandra's timeline. While traveling through those memories, he eventually arrived at a scene from the distant past. Theo realized that he was witnessing Winterer in its ancient era. He also recognized the Death Squad members back when they were still alive. At that moment, he finally laid eyes on the outer god's true body. The creature possessed a single gigantic eye, along with thousands of hands and legs, making it far more terrifying than anything Theo had seen before. Theo immediately realized that this monster existed on an entirely different level from the one he had encountered inside the mausoleum. Standing fearlessly before that monstrous being was Ragnar's long-forgotten patriarch. Theo understood that this memory was his only opportunity. He resolved to restore the lost sword manual by learning everything he could from this moment in the past. The forgotten patriarch calmly faced the impossible enemy and declared that the beast had finally appeared after coming so far. He gave the outer god one final chance to return to the place from which it had come. The outer god responded with an amused grin. It mocked humanity, finding humans endlessly fascinating. It declared that no matter how many people it crushed and tore apart, they always returned in endless numbers. Looking down on humanity like insignificant insects, the outer god demanded that they crawl on the ground where they belonged. The outer god unleashed thousands of hands toward Theo in a devastating attack. Without hesitation, Theo drew his sword and began cutting through every hand that reached him. The outer god was left in complete shock after witnessing a mere human slicing through its body. Theo reminded the creature that it had ignored the chance he had offered earlier. The outer god could only stare in disbelief. Theo declared that if the creature refused to return on its own, he would send it back by force. At that moment, Theo realized the technique he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Using a single sword technique, Theo unleashed one final strike. The attack landed perfectly, causing the outer god to scream in agony. Meanwhile, back in the real world, the bishop-priest's monster restrained both of Eud's arms. One of its hands then pierced straight through her abdomen. The bishop-priest found it strange that the more he looked at Eud, the more she resembled the legendary warrior. He realized she might be that hero's descendant. He admitted that crushing her had been somewhat entertaining because of that resemblance. However, he declared that a mere imitation could never satisfy him. Believing the battle was over, he prepared to erase her from the world. Just as he moved in for the finishing blow, an overwhelming surge of energy suddenly erupted across the battlefield. The bishop-priest was instantly shocked. The moment he recognized that familiar aura, he became visibly nervous. He immediately released Eod. Eod was equally stunned, and wondered if that overwhelming presence belonged to Theo. Meanwhile, Theo and Cassandra finally completed their mana circulation. Completely exhausted, Cassandra entrusted everything that remained to Theo. She assured him not to worry, and urged him to let her rest in peace. She also declared that the enemy had made the same mistake once again by returning to that land. In the very next moment, Theo gathered all of his strength and charged directly toward the bishop-priest. The sudden attack left the bishop-priest completely shocked.